The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
When our daughter Emma was born, we took a look at our credit card debt. It was not a good situation. We had been running up balances for quite some time, and it became a crisis. Finally, my wife Vicki said, call Trinity.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838 to talk to a certified counselor.
We called them, they contacted all of our creditors, they stopped the collections calls, they got the interest reduced, and they put us on a plan for success.
Trinity will consolidate your bills, stop collections calls, wipe out late fees, reduce your interest, and improve your credit score. You'll save thousands.
We are now completely debt-free, and we will never be in the spot we were again, thanks to Trinity.
If your debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838.
My name is John.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Emma.
And we're debt-free for keeps.
That's 1-800-659-9838.
This is Focal Point with Brian Fisher on AFR Talk.
Hi, and welcome back to this Wednesday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, again, this defeat of Eric Cantor, who, by the way, is going to resign his position as majority leader on July 31. That's what we're hearing now. He's going to be resigning his post on July 31. Also hearing from some sources that I trust that the president is seeing that every immigrant, every illegal immigrant that comes across our border is being met by an attorney. And this attorney, according to the information I have received, files 2 applications for every single illegal immigrant, an application for asylum and an application for a green card. Now, they don't have the money for this. The president asked for another $2 billion to deal with this humanitarian crisis that he himself has created, but that money doesn't start flowing till 2015. Where is this money coming from? Well, apparently it's coming out of the defense budget. So once again, and this is no skin off of President Obama's nose, I believe he actually despises the United States military, and it's looking more and more like the feeling is mutual. So this money to pay for these attorneys to file these applications, meet every illegal immigrant with 2 applications, one for asylum, one for green card, that's coming right out of the defense budget. So that is weakening our nation as we speak. Every dollar that flows to one of these attorneys on the border is a dollar that can't go into making us stronger and keeping us safe. You know, and somebody made a suggestion, and this isn't a facetious suggestion at all, because you have guys like Russell Moore speaking for the Southern Baptist denomination that have said we've got to have open borders, we've got to have amnesty, we've got to make room for every child that comes across our borders. We have to open our borders. We can't turn anybody away. That's what we have to do. The Southern Baptist spokesmen have been saying this, Russell Moore. Well, I think what we need to say to them, look, here is an opportunity. If you believe it, if you believe what you're telling us, then here's an opportunity to put faith to your faith. Instead of letting President Obama lock these children up in Air Force bases, why don't you invite them to bring busloads of these undocumented illegal alien children and drop them at the front door of your Southern Baptist churches? You've got a lot of Southern Baptist churches, thousands of them, 15.7 million Southern Baptists in the United States of America. Your spokesman, again, I'm not saying that their spokesmen like Russell Moore are speaking for the average Southern Baptist in the pew. I do not believe that they are. I do not think that the ordinary Southern Baptist is with Russell Moore and the leadership of the Southern Baptist Convention on Amnesty in any way, shape, or form. But if that's what they believe, if the official position of the Southern Baptist Convention is open borders and it's amnesty, we got to bring them on in, we got to welcome them, then I would encourage the leadership of the Southern Baptist Church, starting with Russell Moore, step up to the plate and call for these children to be dropped off at Southern Baptist churches and put some feet to your faith. So anyway, that's all developing down there on the border. And the reason it ties into the election result with David Brat and this stunning defeat, I was trying to think of an analogy to describe the amazing nature of this unprecedented electoral reversal. I mentioned in the opening segment that Eric Cantor's pollster said you got nothing to worry about. You are up 34 points, 62-28. You're going to hose this guy. This guy's going to get a bath. He's going to get a soaking. And instead, it was David Brat that won by 11 points. It is overwhelming. That's decisive. And it's so decisive that Eric Cantor is going to step down by the end of July. Now, here's an interesting possibility. I don't know. I don't have any reason to believe this. I've read some discussion about it, but nobody seems to know one way or another. But the possibility that Eric Cantor could run as a write-in candidate. And he might have the Karl Roves and the big money, the deep wallet Republicans behind him. They might actually fund him to run as a write-in candidate against both David Brat and the Democrat candidate, which to me would completely give the lie to everything that we hear about from the Republican elites. What they say, we've got to go with the most electable candidate we can find. This has got to be about winning elections. This has got to be about maintaining unity in the Republican Party. We've got to make sure that we get Republicans elected to office in Washington, D.C. We can't make the changes we want unless we get Republicans sent to Washington, D.C. So vote for our guy. That is always their line. Well, if Eric Cantor runs as a write-in candidate, they're going to split the Republican vote. That's going to allow the Democrat to skate in there and completely give the lie to this whole idea that somehow this is all about the Republican Party brand. No, it's not. It's about power. It's about the ruling class Republicans holding on to their power. And they're horrified at what happened last night. The Republican Party elites, you talk about the Karl Roves, you talk about the Mitch McConnells, you talk about the John Boehners, you talk about the Chamber of Commerce types. This has totally freaked them out. The best analogy I could use is, you remember back in 79 A.D., you had the city of Pompeii at the base of Mount Vesuvius. And Mount Vesuvius erupted, and it buried the city of Pompeii in volcanic ash. That is the closest analogy I can think of to what happened last night in Virginia. David Brat, Mount Vesuvius, ruling class Republicans, they this morning are Pompeii, and they don't like it, not even one little bit. And I think we got to have no misunderstanding on this. By the way, I was scheduled to have Chris McDaniel on at 1:30 today. We've rescheduled him for 2:45, so stick around and we will talk with Chris McDaniel at 2:45. And one of the things we want to get from him is kind of his reaction about what happened here in Virginia last night and what it might mean for his campaign. Because one of the things that Chris McDaniel has campaigned on in his contest against Senator Thad Cochran is that he is against amnesty. Chris McDaniel is adamantly against amnesty. He is for the rule of law. He is for border security. He is for protecting employment opportunities for American citizens. So that's what he's about. And he's drawn some distinctions between himself and his opponent on that issue. And I believe that single-handedly that's what turned this election around. I was talking to a reporter this morning from The Atlantic, which is a pretty far left-leaning publication, and I was just kind of curious. We were talking about something else. We're talking about the Harvey Milk Stamp. She called me to interview me about our position on the Harvey Milk Stamp. But I asked her before we were done, what, in your newsroom there at The Atlantic, leans way to the left, what's your perspective on why Eric Cantor lost last night? And it was clear to me as she was trying to explain that to me, they are looking for any explanation other than the obvious one that Eric Cantor lost because he supports amnesty. And that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not rocket surgery. David Brat won because he had the right position on amnesty. He had no money. He had no name ID. He had no political machine. He had no political experience. He'd never held political office before. So he had no money, no name ID, no experience. The only thing he had was the right position on amnesty. And then people over the weekend, Eric Cantor, late in the campaign on Friday, was coming out and saying, we have got to do amnesty for children. We've got to do amnesty for children. And so the same time Eric Cantor's out there thinking somehow or other this is a winning message, people are seeing these children warehoused, coming off of these buses, herded into these warehouses that have never been used for people ever. They've been used to store things and not people. So they see these children huddled in there, massed together, wedged in there like cattle in a cattle car, in cattle cars. And they're thinking to themselves, Eric Cantor is for that? That's what Eric Cantor is behind? That's what Eric Cantor supports? That kind of inhumane, cruel policy that just chews up children like that? I'm not down with that. I think we can do something much better than that with our southern border, and I believe that is why David Brat won. So the only thing that David Brat had, he was outspent $5 million to $122,000. I mean, I don't know what that ratio is, but that's a monstrous ratio. If he spent $100,000, what? That would be about 50 to 1, because it would take, if he has $1,000, $100,000, yeah, it would take 10 of those to make $1 million. Thank you, Jeff, for that vote of confidence. So anyway, he's outspent maybe 50 to 1. And I've got a story in the stack about how Brat actually got very little boots on the ground support from Tea Party groups, that they sort of sat this one out. Now they've been quick to jump on the bandwagon now that the results are in, and I don't know where that story is. Yeah, here it is. This is interesting to me, and I'm going to kind of read this with you from the Washington Examiner. Tea Party groups that offered David Brat zero support sure are thrilled he defeated Eric Cantor. A Tea Party candidate soundly defeated House Majority Leader Eric Cantor on Tuesday. But this troublesome, staged the huge upset. Brat staged the huge upset without any help from major Tea Party organizations. Now, the Tea Party organizations that steadfastly refused to help David Brat, now they're jumping in there and taking all the credit for it and congratulating David Brat on this Tea Party insurgency. So Freedom Works stayed out of it. Club for Growth didn't get involved. Heritage Action did not get involved. The Madison Project didn't get involved. So all these conservative groups that say that they're out there to help they stayed out of this. And now that Brat won, they say success has many fathers and failure is an orphan. Well, we're seeing what that looks like with regard to these Tea Party groups. But there isn't any question. We'll play some sound bites coming out of the break to illustrate that people that are paying attention know that this was about immigration. It was about amnesty, period. Focal Point in AFR Talk. Be right back.
This is Dr. Richard Land, president of Southern Evangelical Seminary in Charlotte, North Carolina. Welcome to Bringing Every Thought Captive. Niall Ferguson, in his marvelous book, Civilization, the West and the Rest, quotes scholars from the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, concluding after 20 years of research, quote, "We were asked to look into what accounted for the preeminence of the West all over the world. At first, we thought it was because you had more powerful guns than we had. Then we thought it was because you had the best political system. Next, we focused on your economic system. But in the past 20 years, we have realized the heart of your culture is your religion, Christianity. That is why the West has been so powerful. The Christian moral foundation of social and cultural life was what made possible the emergence of capitalism and then the successful transition to democratic politics. We don't have any doubt about this, end quote. Isn't it ironic that while many people in America and the rest of Western civilization are attempting to minimize or erase the influence of Christianity, these atheist social scientists from China have come to understand that the Christian faith is the most important factor in the foundation of Western civilization and its moral and social life. It is impossible to understand America and Western civilization without the transcendent values of the Christian faith. If we abandon these values, we shatter the foundation of who we are, who we have been, and who we hope to be. That would be civilizational suicide. For more information about Southern Evangelical Seminary or how to download the free SES mobile app, go to ses.edu. God bless you, God bless your family, and God bless America. This is Richard Land.
This is Focal Point with Brian Fisher on AFR Talk.
Listen to the audio podcast or download today's program at afr.net. You can also read Brian Fisher's columns at onenewsnow.com. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us anytime at focalpoint@afr.net.
FocalPoint@afr.net.
Hi, and welcome back to